For decades, Manchester United was a symbol of greatness, a club feared in England and respected across Europe. A team that didn't just win trophies, it imposed identity, character, and authority. Even today, every official announcement by the club reflects its historic significance. As the club stated, "This moment marks an important change in our history, but the spirit of Manchester United remains intact." But everything changed in 2013. The departure of Sir Alex Ferguson, the most successful manager in the club's history, marked the beginning of an era of uncertainty. From that moment on, Manchester United became trapped in a never-ending rebuild, one that never truly reached its destination. David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Erik ten Hag, different names, different styles. But the same problem remained. The club no longer knew who it was or where it was going. Decisions from the boardroom became just as questionable as performances on the pitch. Expensive signings without a clear plan. Managers whose projects were never fully completed. Players arriving as stars, only to fade away at Old Trafford. For many fans, Manchester United stopped being a football project and became a constant experiment. The 2023 to 2024 season ended in yet another disappointment. Inconsistent performances, a lack of footballing identity, and a growing feeling of stagnation forced the club into an inevitable decision: another managerial change. But this time, United claimed they wanted something different. Not just a coach, not just a big name. They wanted someone who could restore structure, discipline, and a clear vision. And so, amid pressure, urgency, and a fan base tired of waiting, a name emerged that promised revolution: Rúben Amorim. Rúben Amorim was not just another name in European football. Before being linked with Old Trafford, he was already regarded as one of the most promising young managers on the continent. His story did not begin under the brightest lights, but in Portugal. After retiring as a professional footballer, Amorim stepped into management with a very clear philosophy: tactical structure, intensity, discipline, and a strong footballing identity. His breakthrough came at Sporting Lisbon. At a club long overshadowed by Benfica and Porto, Amorim achieved what many believed was impossible, ending a nearly two-decade league title drought and restoring Sporting to the top of Portuguese football. He did it through a bold and unwavering commitment to his ideas: a strict 3-4-3 system, high pressing, clear patterns of play, and strong leadership from the touchline. But it wasn't only the trophies that caught attention. It was his personality, his blunt honesty, his courage to make difficult decisions. Amorim was not a people-pleaser. He was demanding, intense, and often inflexible. That, precisely, is what attracted Manchester United, a club exhausted by chaos, by unfinished projects, by managers who adapted to the problems instead of confronting them. To the board, Amorim represented a complete reset, a young, modern coach with a clear vision and no fear of imposing it, even inside one of football's most demanding dressing rooms. But that same strength also carried a risk, because Old Trafford is not Lisbon, and Manchester United is not a club known for patience. Rúben Amorim's arrival at Manchester United was anything but quiet. It was an appointment filled with expectation, excitement, and serious doubts. When the club officially announced him as head coach, the message was clear: Manchester United was entering a new era, a young manager, a modern philosophy, and the promise of a long-term project.
The team is the most important thing. The way we fight, the way we play, and we must have an identity.
In his first press conference, Amorim spoke about identity, collective effort, and restoring pride to the team. He did not promise immediate trophies. He promised structure, commitment, and a clear footballing vision. But from day one, it was clear this would not be an easy transition. The dressing room was fractured. Some players had been untouchable under previous managers. Others were already under constant pressure from fans and the media. Still, Amorim did not hesitate. From his very first weeks at Old Trafford, he imposed his principles: more intense training sessions, strict discipline, and above all, his tactical system, the 3-4-3 with no compromises. Several players were forced to adapt, others simply no longer fit. The decisions raised eyebrows. Major changes to the starting 11. Leadership roles reconsidered. Key players left on the bench. For some, this was the beginning of a necessary rebuild. For others, it was a dangerous gamble. The English media was divided. Some praised his courage, others warned that Manchester United was not the right place for experimentation. Meanwhile, the fans watched with a mix of hope and skepticism. Because at Old Trafford, they had heard promises before, and they knew one thing very well. At Manchester United, time is never on your side. Rúben Amorim's first matches in charge of Manchester United brought something that had become rare at Old Trafford: a sense of change. Early victories helped calm the atmosphere. Amorim's words were, at least temporarily, backed by results. The media spoke of positive signs and a Manchester United that finally seemed to have a clear identity. As the weeks went by, the debate shifted. It was no longer about whether Manchester United were playing well or badly. The question became deeper. Was Rúben Amorim's system truly compatible with this squad and with this club? The 3-4-3 formation that had brought him so much success in Portugal came under intense scrutiny in England. Pundits, former players, and tactical analysts all pointed to the same issues. The wing-backs were constantly exposed. The back three struggled against quick transitions, and the midfield was often outnumbered and overrun. But the problem wasn't purely tactical. The system demanded individual sacrifice, role changes, leaving comfort zones behind. And not everyone was willing or able to adapt. Frustration began to show among certain players. Visible gestures during matches, negative body language, awkward silences in post-match interviews. From the outside, the narrative was players out of position. From the inside, it was discomfort. True to his character, Amorim refused to back down. He publicly defended his ideas. He insisted the issue wasn't the system. It was time and adaptation. But at Manchester United, time is a luxury. Every defeat magnified the doubts. Every individual mistake became a national talking point. And every press conference added more pressure inside the dressing room. What started as a tactical debate slowly became a human problem. Because when results don't follow, ideas divide and confidence breaks. When results don't come, the focus shifts away from the pitch towards the bench and eventually into the boardroom. For Rúben Amorim, that moment arrived in front of the microphones. Press conferences that had once been calm and controlled began to change in tone. Answers became shorter, sharper, more tense. Amorim was no longer talking only about football. He spoke about structure, about internal decisions, about limits. In one of his most widely discussed statements, he delivered a line that set off alarm bells.
I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach of Manchester United.
I'm not just a coach. I need to be a manager. For some, it was a statement of leadership. For others, it was a public challenge to the club's hierarchy. From that point on, the relationship began to fracture. Rumors multiplied, disagreements over transfers, a lack of backing in the market. Decisions were made without his approval. The English media began to describe a divided Manchester United, a coach defending his vision, and a board losing faith in it. Subsequent press conferences grew increasingly uncomfortable. Relentless questions, answers laced with irony, silences that spoke louder than words. Amorim did not retreat. He did not soften his message. He did not hide behind excuses. But at a club like Manchester United, public confrontation rarely ends well. What had once been an internal discussion became a visible conflict, and when a manager loses the backing of the board, the ending is usually inevitable. It was no longer a matter of if the project would survive, it was a matter of when. The initial hope surrounding Amorim's arrival turned into constant pressure. Every match was a test, every mistake magnified by the press and social media. The English media left no room for doubt. Amorim's project collapses at Old Trafford, the headlines screamed. Experts debated, was it a matter of adaptation or a cultural clash with a club used to immediacy? Even the fans, once full of hope, began questioning every decision made by the manager. Tension was palpable on social media, in stadiums, and on TV programs. The club was caught between a young, modern project and the reality of the results that did not come. A historic club that could no longer afford to wait. The collapse was inevitable, and it all culminated in the news no one wanted to hear. Rúben Amorim leaves Manchester United. On January 5, 2026, the feared news was confirmed. Rúben Amorim was leaving Manchester United. The official statement was brief, but loaded with meaning. A historic club, caught between ambition and results, decided to end a project that promised revolution but failed to take hold. Reactions came swiftly. Experts, former players, and journalists debated on TV and social media. Gary Neville, a club icon, said, "Manchester United needs stability, not experiments." Every new manager should build a solid project from the start. Fans experienced mixed emotions. Some mourned the departure of a young, ambitious coach. Others breathed a sigh of relief, hoping for a change that would restore confidence in the team. The international press echoed the news. Amorim's project ends prematurely. Read headlines in Portugal, England, and Spain. Analysts agreed that a combination of rigid tactics, inconsistent results, and internal tension led to a predictable conclusion. Now Manchester United faces new decisions. Darren Fletcher remains as interim manager while the club evaluates candidates for a project that ensures both results and stability. The future remains uncertain, but one lesson is clear. At Old Trafford, even passion, talent, and ambition must deliver immediate results, because at this club, patience is short and history is long. And that's the story of Rúben Amorim at Manchester United. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our upcoming inspiring stories. And tell us in the comments, do you think Amorim could have succeeded if he had more time at Old Trafford?